This show costs money for the room, for the lighting, for the camera, people behind the camera, people behind the computers. And we need to run by donations because we do not accept money from the Prime Minister's office, because I maintain that there are so many solid journalists in Canada, but some of them will not bite the hand that feeds them. So please, make a donation. Kevin Vuong is a member of Parliament for downtown Toronto. He joins me right now. You are an independent member of Parliament. You were running as a Liberal. A few days before the last election, there were some stories about some sexual harassment. Subsequently, you were absolutely cleared, correct?
Correct.
The Prime Minister kicked you out of the party right away. The Prime Minister has a habit of doing that with sitting MPs. Nothing proven, but if it's an allegation of anything sexual, immediately off with their heads. You got your head cut off. I put the question to you, coming from a man whose history involving certain allegations of sexual harassment or sexual impropriety are out there, and he's just saying, oh, well, it's nothing to do with me. But they are out there and they're going around all the time. Do you not feel burned by this guy?
I think it's immensely hypocritical in terms of how he treats his own incidents and alleged things that happened involving him. And then those
Present
of us...
and past. He
Correct.
just weighs it off.
Correct. Whereas mine was a false allegation from years ago, completely withdrawn by the court without any conditions. But it seems like rule of law doesn't matter when it comes to other people. But then due process he suddenly cares about when it comes to himself.
Go ahead.
Well, it's just that hypocrisy is something that should not be coming from the leader of our country.
Well, I can give you another example of a man who flies across the nation to go surfing on a holiday, and yet he's penalizing farmers who need to burn gas to plow their fields, to seed their fields, and to harvest their fields. I mean, is this man the biggest hypocrite we've ever seen?
He is, I think, a high carbon hypocrite because he's bringing a carbon tax on people who are the ones who feed us, who keep us fed, but also during the winter warm. And so for him to then turn around and be flying his jet wherever he wants so that he can sometimes get away from the hard questions and those who are trying to hold him accountable is, I think, high carbon hypocrisy.
Or so that he could just dance in the streets and try to curry favor. So we just talked about two examples. I could bring up a few more. I'm sure, Kevin, you could bring up a number more. And we are in the towards the end of his mandate. People are starting to sour on this man, not only personally, but because of policies. Do you think that this government has a right to stay there for another year and a half before the absolute end result of the election?
I think that's a good question. I think the fact that so many Canadians are struggling, 1 in 4 Canadians live in poverty, that we have never before faced, at least in the lifetime of half of Canadians, the highest food price increases in 40 years. And yet they continue to be so out of touch and continue to force the carbon tax that drives up food costs.
That says it all. Kevin Vuong, thank you very much. 3 minutes. This show provides independent analysis of the issues. We are not paid by the government. And as I am finding, so much business in Canada relies upon various governments that they don't want to sponsor or advertise on a show which may become controversial, which talks about liberty, freedoms, sometimes criticizes government. I've had guests on that support the government. But people are saying, you know what? We don't want to bite the hand that feeds us, i.e. government, which is why I hope you'll subscribe and contribute to keep this show on the air.